In the next 15 minutes, together, we're going to explore the amazing world of fountain pen sketching and show you everything you need to know to fill up a sketchbook with awesome sketches. The great thing about fountain pen sketching is you only need a pen, some ink, and some paper, and you are good to go. First, we have the pens. These come in a huge range of prices, varieties, and nib sizes. I would recommend something like this. This is a Lamy Safari. Inside it has an extra fine nib, and then you can either use your own ink cartridges or you can get an ink converter which can fill up with whatever ink that you like. If you're looking to spend a little bit more, then getting a barrel filling pen like this I think is a really great touch. Notice how I turn the end of the pen and this whole barrel goes up and down. That lets me put loads of ink into the pen. Moving on, we have ink. Now, any ink will do, including normal ink cartridges. If you're looking to expand your ink sketching repertoire, then I would recommend getting something like carbon ink. This is by Platinum. There are other varieties as well, but the key about this is it's waterproof. So you might be able to add watercolors and things like that to your sketches eventually. Just like with the pen, don't overthink it, and actually just getting started with normal ink is a really great idea. In terms of paper, any old sketchbook will do. This is not a particularly expensive sketchbook, and it's just got normal smooth paper. Smooth paper is a little easier to get started with, so that's the only stipulation I would suggest. Inside my other budget sketchbook, you can see I fill this with loads of sketches. People, landscapes, more, anything that takes my fancy. And it really doesn't have to be expensive paper. You can really make a lot of fun art using something super cheap. One of the reasons that fountain pens are so amazing is that not only do you have different nibs, your nibs are flexible, far more so than most other pens. So we can create all sorts of different lines, from a fine line to a bold line, to a line which goes from fine to bold and back again. They're also going to be able to apply a sort of blocked in black area of dense ink, or create little scratchy, very light, barely there marks. In the next few minutes, what we're going to do is look at basic pen handling and work out how we can use all of these different ideas, these strengths of fountain pen sketching, to our advantage. When we start sketching, we feel like we should be holding our pen in the same way we do when we write. And that means that we want a really controlled grip, and that lets us write neatly, or in my case, not that neatly. What we actually want to do as sketchers is take that pen and push it further away from our hand and loosen up our wrist. And this loose wrist will make it very hard to suddenly write, but it makes it very easy to start creating interesting and characterful lines and building up scenes seemingly from nowhere with just beautiful, interesting sketches. Doing this will take you from that deft grip, which gives you that bold, strict line, lacking any real character and fun, towards something much looser, where we can be light, varied, we can be agile, our line can move and dip, we can change the pressure and the direction and character very easily. Literally just practicing how can you comfortably hold your pen and create these more interesting lines with a little bit of wobble, a little bit of character, and moving away from these strict or bold, excessively strong lines is a really good place to start. Once you have your lines sorted, it's time to move on to shapes. The whole world can be divided into shapes, and literally practicing shapes is actually a very useful way of improving your art and improving the comfort you feel in how you're holding and playing with your pen. Again, we're looking for shapes with a little bit of character, because a shape with a bit of character can suddenly become something else. It can suddenly become, for example, a little tree with some Christmas decorations on, or a shape with character could become a couple of stories of a house. And then more shapes inside that become the windows, and then we've got a shop front. And this set of shapes can emerge because we haven't gone in with that deft grip. There's no tree going to happen here. This is always just going to be a blocky triangle, but something loose, something interesting with a bit of movement can suddenly actually develop into a rather wonderful bit of sketching. Another key tip is it's actually often very hard to draw a perfect shape. But what we don't need to do in sketching is aim for perfection. So instead of trying to draw a perfect circle, putting all our stress and attention into creating that one shape, what we can do instead is draw an average. So we keep it light and loose, and then if our shape doesn't quite meet up, it's fine. We've got that sketchy feel to our line. And again, that sketchy feel might evolve into something more interesting. It might evolve into a more fluid and free and happy shape, rather than this bold shape which has got nowhere to go, no way of growing. Shading is a really important part of art. In pencil drawing and sketching, what we do is we colour a whole area and we get it all to be a little bit grey, and we can vary that degree of greyness to go from really dark to really light or white, the empty page. In ink sketching we can't do that. We either have black or white. So what we use instead is the idea of hatching. And hatching is very simple. It's just the application of parallel lines. We can also cross hatch. So we do our parallel lines and we then cross over them. And that can be in any direction. So from vertical we could go at an angle, or we could go horizontally like this. There's a few key tips with hatching. One is keep it consistent. What we don't want is lines which are sort of crissing and crossing over each other. That becomes distracting. We don't want lines which go from sort of very bold to very fine and bold and fine and different lengths. These things will quickly take over a sketch and you will lose the underlying shape. The purpose of the hatching is to create light and shadow, and that helps us to create something which feels 3D. So if we take a simple cube, again look, this is a simple set of shapes. We hatch down one side just with some simple linear hatching. Suddenly it becomes 3D. We can then use horizontal hatching, and suddenly this hatching explains that we've got a 3D object sat on a surface. And because this shape isn't strict and boring, this 3D object can actually develop into something more interesting. We can start adding other shapes within, and again perhaps we've found ourselves a little street corner. As with all things artistic, there's always multiple levels that you can take this to. So you might have noticed I changed pens there, and I was actually using a simple writing pen, but inside it is normal water soluble ink. So that means I can come in and instead of just having hatching, using a simple brush, we can suddenly create bits of shadow and tone from the ink that we've laid down on the page. And this is yet another way of using our fountain pen, something we can't do with fine liners, for example, which tend to have only waterproof ink. Next, we need to have a think about how to generate textures from our loopy lines. For example, here, these little very crumbly textures, that could perhaps represent a kind of broken down old house. And inside that, we take the less is more approach to applying some little brick marks, and underneath we get a different texture. This is the kind of overgrown garden that's coming up around this rather bedraggled little wall. On top maybe we add a different shape, a triangle, and that triangle is going to be also heavily textured with some deep hatching, and now we've got a crumbling down roof sat on top of our crumbling down wall, which feels, I think, nicely textured. Underneath, if we keep a little neater, we can change that internal texture, make those marks much bigger, add a little shape in the middle, one of those sort of narrow slitted windows, and perhaps now we have a medieval building. We could even add another couple of shapes underneath this, the same repeating square with the same repeating kind of textures. And what have we got now? Perhaps we actually have built an entire church, very simply, with our textured squares. Another example would be a tree. If we think of a tree as a kind of circle in the simplest form, that circle's certainly got some texture on the outside, hasn't it? We bring down a rectangle to form the trunk, and then within it, instead of hatching, we now do a sort of naturalistic hatching. So we're building up those ink marks to create light and shadow, but we're doing it with natural marks which suggest leaves. They're not leaves, but they are that hopefully fluid kind of scratchy feel that suggests leaves a little bit. Underneath again, think about texture and we can create a little grassy floor. And it's worth remembering that textures are pretty much everywhere. If we take a simple lighthouse, we're going to have contrasting textures between the sea, the lighthouse, the rocks in front of that lighthouse, and working out how you're going to use combinations of hatching, naturalistic hatching, and little scratchy marks to suggest different textures, to separate apart all of these different objects in the scene, is a really fascinating and exciting part of fountain pen sketching, with all of the flexibility that fountain pen sketching promises. And it's time now to put this all together into some simple ideas that you can fill your sketchbook with. First, let's do a still life. So this is a couple of apples next to my coffee mug. And what we can see is simple shapes, but that's not what we're after, is it? We're after a lovely sketch based on simple shapes. So remember what we talked about at the beginning. Instead of those bold, boring lines, remember your shapes, but use fluid lines. Hold the pen a little bit further down and think of the kind of textures as you go. In reality, the sketching process is fairly fluid. We start with our shapes, but we're already thinking about how we make them a little bit 3D. And we might do a little bit of hatching, adding some textures, adding some darkness, and refining some of our shapes as we go along. Then we could move on to the next object. The next object is my little coffee mug. And again, it's a very simple shape, but we can make it that little bit more interesting with our loose grip, remembering those basics of how we handle our fountain pen. Again, gentle bits of hatching, and this time even doing some blotted in ink starts to give some shape to the scene. It starts to make all of these objects actually feel a little bit 3D. And loopy lines and little sort of scratchy marks, maybe even adding a spoon into my mug as well. All of these little bits add character and fun. They make it a lot more on the right hand side, of course, than the sketch on the left. Simple hatching again can add shadow. These little shadows show that we've got a different surface. We have the background and then we have the surface that the mug and the apples are sat on. Why not continue sketching what's in front of me? So here we go. Here's one of my pens. Hopefully you can sort of recognize that from the pen's line to the right. And then make this even more fun, even more interesting. And this is the kind of thing you can just do in your sketchbook. Why don't I actually just sketch me sketching in my sketchbook? Again, my sketchbook can be split into simple shapes, and then the apple, the coffee mug, the pen can all emerge back onto those pages. And what a fun page I've created. I really enjoy this, and actually I think it's quite a fun little bit of art. And I hear you, surely these techniques are not super flexible. Surely we can't just sketch anything. We've done a little still life of some fruit. What about sketching the inside of our house? Well, here we go. Here is a teddy bear emerging from simple shapes, little bits of texture and hatching, restating some of those important lines so that we've got a nice structure to our image, and just gradually generating that fun on the page. We can add the rest of the room in. Here's his shelf with some books on. Why not draw the plants in your house as well? They're all simple shapes, they're all simple textures, and they can all be brought to life using these really simple techniques. And I'd really encourage you to just get out there and have a bit of fun and start exploring. Here's another scene. This one, you can see the reference on the left. Take a photo from your phone and you'll be able to start recreating it. I'm just really easily breaking down this slightly complicated house and garden into shapes. Notice how everything on that page is currently a shape. And then as we get confident in our shapes and we find the shadows, we can find the bold lines, we can find the dark areas, and suddenly, again, in just a matter of minutes, this house begins to take shape. And it's not that scary. And it, again, I'm just stressing the point that this is all using the same ideas. We've got shapes, we've got that basic pen handling technique, we've got some hatching, and we've got textures. And some places, textures really bring the scene to life, like adding a bit of fun in the sky or getting those suggestions of bricks in the foreground. And yes, even humans and animals can be brought to life using these simple techniques. Here on the left is Betty, my dog, and on the right is Tash, my wife. Together they are doing some dog agility. And this scene, again, taken as a quick photo from my phone, can be brought to life played with, had a bit of fun with, and experimented with in my sketchbook using a simple fountain pen. So thank you everyone for watching my little sketching videos. If you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my channel because it makes me really, really happy. Thanks again.